What a morning.
Oreo says, what is going on?
He looks like how I feel. I think I'm actually coming down with something on top of everything. So we'll see how far I get.
And I've been up since 5:30 because my son wanted to get donuts.
Here's the thing about this show. We're not actors.
No.
We're very bad about pretending that everything's fine when it's not, but we're here. Technical problems and cat problems and kid problems aside, you got to click that little button there. But we made it. We're here. So enough
Matthew
complaining.
said, let's guess Marc's t-shirt. It was the Babinga shirt that you wore last week.
Oh, okay.
But
yep.
Hey.
Nope, this is a new one.
From Amazon.
Just a couple days ago. I need my paper. It's on my desk.
Oh.
Okay.
Oreo, go get the paper.
Fetch the paper, Oreo.
Go, Oreo, go.
Useless cat.
All right.
I could look at your document. I just can't.
Here, hold that.
Okay. So how's it going, everybody?
How you doing?
How you doing? Welcome to the morning show. I'm Mark. That was Nicole, and she's going to get my paper because she gets to read off the screen and I get a piece of paper because that's the distribution here. How's everyone doing? I finally finished up my under table cabinet, and I'm not ready to reveal it yet because I want all the little fun stuff to be in place before I show pictures of it. But it looks cool.
Don't go, Oreo.
It looks cool.
Don't go. Hang
Careful scratching that mic because you're live.
All right. Andy wants to know if you have a subscription. Oh, crap.
Careful scratching that mic. Careful letting your cat flip-flop all over the microphone.
He was chill for a minute.
Does Mark have a subscription for t-shirts from Amazon?
Do they even, that would be kind of cool if they did.
I don't know if he's talking about like stuff for us to make on Amazon or if he's talking about the subscription services that are already on Amazon. Because I have had in the past a Star Trek.
But it wasn't an Amazon's.
No, I think it was through Amazon.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, and they were garbage shirts. There were shirts where I kind of liked some of what they put on it, but then sometimes the quality wasn't good, and other times I'm like, hey, I'm a pretty big fan of Star Trek, and I don't get the joke. I don't understand what this is.
Was it periodic table of Star Trek?
So you like subscribe for a year, and then you get a whole bunch of t-shirts, and some are hit, some are miss.
Some are good, some are bad.
Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes here before my throat gives out.
I got like a whole bunch of different types of, those are new cough drops.
Mucinex.
So.
You want to put the Amazon link in the chat?
Do you like them?
I haven't tried them.
Oh, I thought you did.
And I'm very hesitant to put them in my mouth because I don't want to make mouth noises for everybody. All right, so hey, it's the last chance right now. Literally, we're down to the last few hours of the Vanity pre-order. Well, it's not even a pre-order anymore.
No, it's out.
Because it's out. I released all the videos this morning. So if you go to the woodwhispererguild.com, Nicole's going to put a link in the chat. That course is still $29. As of tonight, probably after dinner time, I'm going to go in there and raise that price to $79, which is where it should be.
How many videos are in that?
19 videos.
19 videos.
This is essentially 2 courses, almost 2 projects in one. You have the desk with the 2 drawers and that continuous grain pattern, tapered legs, all that good stuff. And then the hutch on the top, which also has 2 drawers and a door. And then we play around with a lighted mirror, some adjustable shelves, lots of hand-cut joinery, lots of hybrid woodworking with hand planes and all that good stuff. So it is a jam-packed course, and you guys are going to want to check it out. And it's only $29 right now, but that will change very soon. So go check it out if that seems like something you're interested in. Quick announcement, Woodworking in America tickets are still available. This is October 11th and 12th. Nicole will have that link for you. If you want to get your tickets, come and see us. I'll be there. Matt Cremona will be there talking about his log, and there's going to be a whole bunch of other people there too.
I finally got some of the stickers in that we'll have. I got an Oreo sticker. I don't know if you can see that. It's so cute. And then I got these cool Wood Whisperer ones.
Those are the
new. I've started making hats. So I think I'm going to give a hat away today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
okay, that's a good idea.
Fun.
I didn't really pull any tools to give away.
I will say that if you make any order in TWW store, I'll make sure to give you one of the new Wood Talk stickers and our new Oreo sticker.
Oreo, come here.
So that'll be a little bonus if
we'll
you do any orders in TWW store.
Are we going to do a guild course giveaway at the end of the show? Okay, so stay tuned. End of the show, guild course giveaway. Let's just don't do the Vanity this time.
No,
your pick. You pick one from the entire catalog in the guild. You could pick one. All right, what are we doing next?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's Friday the 13th, and I have no idea what's going on.
So a couple days ago,
yeah.
we did a talk at WashU here in St. Louis.
University.
And great group of people, a bunch of college freshmen. I put this on social media because it was a real revelation as I found out that most of the kids in this college freshman course were born the year we started the Wood Whisperer. That's why this looks like this. Because it's been a while. Holy crap.
Young adults. They're not kids.
No,
They're young adults.
They're kids.
They're young adults.
They're young kids.
But we actually met one of the professors, Bruce, who came to Rob Kosman's dovetailing, and he was like, hey, we do this creativity course at Washington University, and we have all kinds of people in, and we want you guys to come in. We're like, you sure about that?
Yeah.
You
sure?
want us?
Do you know what we do? Do you know that I'm really not very creative?
That's what he's like.
Because I may not be your guy. But it worked out okay.
I think so, because whether you think it or not, we do a lot of creative stuff.
It just doesn't feel that way.
I know it doesn't feel that way,
I just
but
don't feel like I'm creative. Do you know,
Like,
so I don't even, it's on the wall. I should have brought it in. They made me a certificate. Oh, here we go.
just hold it.
I am holding it.
Okay.
Don't drop it though. So because I always say I'm not creative, and I made that very clear, and even in our talk, I alluded to it.
Should I hold
Yeah,
it?
go ahead. They made us a official certificate, a little bit blurry, but anyway, point is, they went through some trouble to make me a
And
certificate
presented it.
of creativity. It's sort of like the Cowardly Lion. It's that sort of thing. It's my certificate of courage.
Yes. Creativity by the Design Creativity class of 2024.
So anyway, these people were great. The kids in the class were great. That's just me and Nicole.
That's me talking. I did a lot of it.
Yep, she talks with her hands like an Italian. Look at her. And then at the end, we got to talk to some of the students. And you know what? Really engaged students. Like, we've done things where we've talked in front of younger groups, and they're just like, they just stare at you, and you don't even know if what you're saying is getting through their heads.
There were a few in the audience.
There were a couple. There was a girl in the front. She was chowing down.
It's okay.
You know, she was definitely interested in other things. It's fair enough. I would be too.
Yeah.
I would be the kid in the back sleeping. But this course was pretty cool because you pulled, you can even see it on that slide. There was an image up there of a thing that we created a poster from years ago called The Process is the Project. And this was basically a non-designer's way of breaking down the design and the woodworking process. And this became part of the discussion that we had with these students. And they asked some great questions too. You know, and it wasn't all just like, how'd you get those many subscribers?
No.
You know, like it was real intelligent questions.
I really liked the question that was asked about does, wanting to, make, this is a business, make money, stifle your creativity. And like, are there things that you want to do that you don't do in a video? And so it was really, really cool.
Someone said, speaking of bald guys, you should do hats without mesh backs. I'm going to be honest here. I don't like these hats.
Yeah.
And
this is just the first round. This is me just trying stuff out.
Hats are a very, a personal thing in terms of how it fits, how high it is, how flexible it is. I actually like, I guess what would be like an 80s, 90s teen kid kind of hat, which is a low profile hat. I want it fairly soft. I barely want to know what's on my head, and I do not want mesh, and I don't want a trucker cap look. And I don't like a flat bill on it either. So I think you and I are probably looking for the same kind of hat.
When I make stuff for the business merchandise, I typically focus on what he would wear. And then I look at what is popular. So I kind of make two offers.
And they're often not the same thing.
They're not.
I like an athletic fit shirt. Most of the people who buy our shirts do not want an athletic fit shirt. So it makes it a little bit tricky because I often don't wear my own stuff. I'd rather wear Star Trek. Can I get into my demo?
Yeah, but Troy had a question. Can I just order stickers? Yes, we have.
Do we still have the fun pack?
We should have a sticker fun pack in there, and I will add those to the sticker fun pack.
Yeah, so we usually have a sticker fun pack. It's only like a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
And then we have just a bunch of rando stickers we've had made over the years that are just fun, cool to put up in your shop. So yeah, we'll definitely make sure that's there for you.
If they're out of stock, I'll make sure to. I'm pretty sure we have them in there.
Alex says, hats off to you for making those, Nicole.
Thanks, Alex.
Alex is always good for a pun. He's my favorite punny guy. All right, so I have a little demo / ad. Full disclosure, we're working with this company. here's the other part of the disclosure. We don't work with anybody I don't want to work with.
That's true.
And in fact, this is a company who sent me a sample. I liked it so much that I said, hey, how can we work together more with these guys? Because this was actually a surprise. I didn't expect to like this product as much as I do. And I'm going to show it to you now, assuming here, I didn't even check our cameras to see if we have that camera set up.
Oh, which one?
Hang on. Marc's iPhone camera.
Voila.
I really should have confirmed that, but
we're flying by the seat of our pants.
I thought you were going to say living on borrowed time. That implies something a little bit different.
Say, living on a prayer or something.
Yeah, we are Bon Jovi style, living on a prayer. Okay, I'll put the gloves on later. So these are going to appear pretty soon in a Tools Unleashed video. This is Makr's stain pads. They have packing tape. It's all sticky on the back. Makr's stain pads, and they have a stain sponge. They also have gloves. They've got, what you call it? I'm losing the word for it. You know, right, it's not relevant. It's not germane to the conversation. I'm just going to move on.
Germane?
Germane. Yeah, your favorite guy from Flight of the Conchords?
Germane.
It's also a word.
Okay.
This has been a vocabulary lesson with Nicole.
Oh, yeah.
So they make these stain pads. Now, these guys sent this to me months ago now. And I'm like, well, I don't stain very much. What do I need a stain pad for? And then I realized they do have the stain sponges, which are probably more conducive to like, full-on staining projects. But I looked at these thin pads and I'm like, okay, well, they're actually pushing these, not just for stain, but clear finishes. So it had my interest because I don't stain very much, but I do apply oil-based clear finishes. So here's the deal. They come in this big thing. You can kind of cut them up and get as many as you want, as small as you want to get with these. It is if you kind of look at the cross section, I don't know how well you could see that. There's like a foam interior layer, and that's what's going to kind of catch all of the finish and help distribute it. And then it's got this microfiber outer layer. I can't even describe to you how well this lays down finish. Now, normally, what I might do for finish, if I could stretch back here, oh God, is a blue shop towel, paper towel like this, and I'll fold it up. If I've got leftover t-shirt material or an old t-shirt that Nicole didn't put into a quilt, I will, bring that to the shop and use that to apply finish. But these will generally, they do work, and I've taught how to use these in the past. What I find, though, is just the way that it distributes the finish, the way it distributes the pressure, you can very easily get streaks. And anybody who's done a wiping varnish, maybe a satin or matte finish, you will start to see those streaks in the surface. And they basically come down to uneven distribution of the finish. So yes, this will still work, but this is better. So I'm going to do a very quick demo. I'm going to show you how it works. And one of the things I really like about it, because look, you're spending money on something, these do cost money. They're going to be a little bit more expensive than just taking an old t-shirt or blue shop towel. So why do you want to do that? Well, first of all, results. I find the results are so much better, so much smoother, and so much less in the way of streaks. But I also find that it's almost, and I kid you not when I say this, it's almost magical. The way that this absorbs finish and then distributes that finish on the surface, it seems like I get so much more out of it than I would out of a paper towel.
Oh, interesting. So you save finish.
I haven't tested it. I can't say that because I haven't tested it, but it sure as heck feels like it.
Yeah.
The amount of times I have to dip back into my finish to recoat it it just feels like it's a lot fewer.
Yeah.
And I can't, look, I got a science background. I would test that before making those claims.
Okay.
But you see how it really just kind of soaks it up and holds it. And there's a lot of finish in that thing. So as I start to apply it, we're going to lay it down. And I'm probably going to get through this entire thing just with this one dip. Maybe, I don't know. The wood is raw. So I'm just going to overlap my passes here.
They did give us a coupon for 15% off. So if you're curious to try these and want a little money off,
okay.
TWW will get you 15% off at checkout.
Now on a piece like this,
what
I
finish
might go.
Are you using?
Oh yeah, that's just wipe on poly.
Wipe on poly.
Minwax wipe on poly. So I was using a very light touch, and now I'm going to squeeze a little bit more out. And because it's foam, it's cushioning my fingers. And that is one of the things that can lead to streaks, is uneven pressure from your fingers. So imagine you're making, stripes. Wherever your fingers are, you're pushing a little harder, and you might end up squeezing out finish from that area, and you end up with this kind of stripy pattern. With this, you just have so much cushion in here that it's just giving me a very smooth distribution of finish. And that is about as perfect as it gets, right? So especially with wiping varnish, you don't want to overwork it. You want to get the finish down and move on. Very small example here, but if you were doing a tabletop, this would allow you to move so much faster. And if you wanted to, you could simply cut your piece wider, and then you can actually, you know, kind of like using a wider brush. I wouldn't go that wide because, you know, you're applying it with your hand. But you can go a little bit wider and cover more ground in a shorter amount of time. And that was one dip. And there's actually, okay, I didn't sand the back of this board, but I want to show you that there's still quite a bit of finish in there. And then if you want, you can, you know, push down a little bit, you'll get more out of it. But, you know, this is the point where I would definitely dip in and get more. But I just find that I don't have to dip quite as often. So I don't know that I could say it's using less finish so much as it is more effective at holding the finish in this foam layer, so I don't have to dip quite as frequently, and it just feels like it makes the finish go further. So here's the thing with these. I am very, I don't know, in some ways I am super frugal, in other ways I'm extremely wasteful, and I don't know, I got to really evaluate that and find out why. But in the case of these, I want to reuse them. So here's a cool little trick you can do. You definitely want to get the most, because I mean, look, I've only used the bottom portion. Even after I finish a full table, I would only start to see staining and coloration, you know, maybe halfway through this pad. The other half is still good. I could still use that. And this side can still be used multiple times if the wood is clean before you apply your finish. So you want to try to get as much life out of this as possible. If you have used a glove to do this, and this goes for any staining rags, do this. And then you can either tie it in a knot or just fold it. And if you can squeeze all the air out, even better yet. This is something that I do all the time to be able to reuse them and make use of that glove as a bag to hold this so that the finish doesn't cure on there. So Nicole has a coupon code where you can get these. I'm going to talk more about this stuff in the future. You'll be seeing these in some videos. And this is something where, again, they sent me a product. I'm showing you a glove. That was dumb. They sent me a product. And I tested it out, and I kind of scoffed at first because I'm like, what am I going to do with a stain sponge? But it's so much more than that. It's so much more effective than that. You're going to definitely see more of this going forward. And I am done with that camera view.
I put the link in the chat, but it's, oh, sorry.
People are looking at a board.
Oh, yeah, they're looking at a board.
Just looking at a board.
Boop, now you're looking at us.
So definitely check these guys out.
And
also,
it's Makr, M-A-K-R.
Makers, M-A-K-R-S.
.tools is the website.
Yeah, and it says loop-free microfiber fabric. Feel the difference. Oh, I feel it. It feels different.
Streak-free, snag-free.
Snack-free?
Snag-free.
Sign me up. Oh, snag. Okay.
Snag.
Though I do want the snacks.
Danny says, don't double dip.
No double dipping. And by the way, if you guys don't do that, I'm often guilty of it.
That's stinky.
Using a secondary container with your finishes, pour it out, put the lid back on. That ensures that this doesn't get any extra exposure to oxygen more than it needs. These bottles, obviously, they force you to do that because it's just a little thing. But if you have a quart can, a lot of times the temptation is to just dip into the quart. That does two things. It leaves it exposed to oxygen for far longer, and it potentially contaminates your finish, right? So that you get little wood particles in there. So always have these little secondary containers. Total Boat makes, yeah, I mean, you don't need Total Boat versions, but these are the ones they sent us that work pretty well. And dip into this, and then when you have a little bit of waste, I don't know, go put it on your cat. That's what I do.
Stop.
It protects him from the rain.
Yeah. Ian says, what's the thin layer? Just cotton or something like calico?
It's microfiber.
Microfiber.
Yeah, but like really, really, really tight, smooth microfiber.
Oh, that's not like any microfiber I have.
No, I mean, it's not like a microfiber cleaning cloth,
Yeah,
you know,
not at all.
where you could see the loops, but that's what they said.
It feels like minky. I have a fabric called minky that I use in my quilts.
And I guess this is a
feels
particular variation of microfiber, loop-free microfiber, so it's not like the little towels like we clean the house with.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat.
And I think that's where the magic is. It's one of the smoothest things possible, and then you have that foam layer, which is kind of like, I don't know what kind of foam it is, but like it's sort of that open cell sort of structure where it's pulling all that finish in, and I think that's why it just distributes finish so cleanly and so well.
Gary Gibbons says, Bloxygen!
Absolutely. Use Bloxygen if you can. If you guys aren't familiar with that, I think it's argon gas. It's an inert gas that's heavier than oxygen, heavier than air. So you spray that, it doesn't feel like there's anything in the can, which is always fun to pay like 12 bucks for, or however much it costs. But your little burst of that into your can before you put your lid back on, and that can help your finishes last longer. Also, stop lost bags is a good way to do that too.
Yeah.
All right, so that's that. That's that.
Phil wants to know, I told him once that the sandpaper was available on Canada Amazon site. Our sandpaper, are you talking about backside sandpaper? Because we're not, that's not in Amazon.
I'm not sure what he's talking about because he
not either.
finally ordered it from the US site.
Yeah, could you point me in the right direction?
We don't sell our sandpaper on
Amazon at this point.
So I'm not sure what you're buying.
Yeah.
What you buying, man?
Backside sandpaper.
Send us a link because I'd love to see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But if
maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Or maybe it's a different company.
My memory, not so good.
It could be a different company.
Yeah.
How thick are those gloves? I think they're 6 mil. Speaking of makers, probably should have given them a shout out for that too.
Oh, they do gloves too.
These gloves, look, and this is going to sound like I'm laying it on
Are those
thick.
the gloves that you were wearing?
Yeah.
They're so cool looking.
I find that disposable gloves that are thicker, yeah, of course they're better. It feels like a luxury because it feels like every single one is going to be more expensive. And I'm like, again, this is where my stupid frugality comes into play. But these gloves will last so much longer. They don't rip. 6 mil. So I don't know if they still have these on the site, but they do have a range of products. And frankly, these are some of the best gloves I've ever used. But I think that thickness plays a large role in that.
You have a crush.
Who?
On Makr.
Oh, I have a crush on them? I thought
yeah.
you meant like someone there.
No. You have a crush on them.
Like, who would have a crush on me? What are you talking about? Yes, I have a bit of a crush.
Yes.
So I kind of like it. And I mean, honestly, I'll tell you, the only thing I'm probably not going to use much, but I'm glad I have it for the time I do need to stain, are these thicker stain sponges. Because I do like to use that method for staining. In the past, I would use like a terry cloth wrapped sponge for applying stain very quickly over the surface. But with that microfiber, I'm sure this is going to be way better. And in terms of distribution of stain, way better. Yeah,
Dave
they're
says,
good.
Do you know your YouTube is putting ads in the live stream? I don't know. I have to.
Are they?
They keep changing stuff around, so I'd have to
take a look at the settings.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. That wasn't on purpose.
Joe said they don't have extra large.
Aw, man.
Unfortunately.
Joe, why do you have such big hands, dude? That's your fault. That sounds like a Joe problem. Yeah. So thick gloves, they're great. All right, let's get to some questions.
Yeah, let's get to some questions. These come from Patreon and YouTube.
Okay. Les has a question.
Les.
And I think it's relevant. It's germane, Nicole, to what we were just talking about.
Oh. Did he say germane?
No, I did.
Okay.
A question about your wiping varnish mixture that was mentioned in the last morning's show. There are so many past videos and shows to dig through. You ain't kidding, brother. It was naphtha and armor seal, but what are the proportions? Okay, so he's talking about way back in the day. I did a video called Simple Varnish Finish. It was a DVD, actually, and you can still get that in the Wood Whisperer Guild if you want to. It's showing how to use finishes like this. I think I used Armor Seal at the time. But what I would do is apply, these are pre-diluted. You don't really have to dilute these. That's the whole point of the wipe-on varnish concept, is they take like a full-strength poly and dilute it about 50%, typically with mineral spirits, right? So you can make your own wiping, and then what I did in that video was one of the last coats, I like to apply a little bit thinner, and what I would do is then dilute it with something like naphtha, which flashes off a little faster than mineral spirits, just to get that final coat on. I'm not even sure I would go through that trouble anymore, and especially if you are able, see, a lot of the things I did in the past were because I wanted to fight that uneven, streaky finish. Honestly, if I had these, I might not have had to do that. So I would recommend not worrying about diluting any further.
I remember you doing.
Well, you still always, if you can, use a raking light because it's going to show you things you can't otherwise see. So to answer Les's question, at the time I probably diluted this stuff or Armor Seal maybe another 25%. You don't want to dilute it that much because, again, it is already diluted. So no more than like 25%. But I don't even know that you really need to. That final coat, you could probably just, as long as you have the right application materials, you could probably get that final coat on there and be just as happy with it.
Joshua was like, what's a DVD?
Yeah, I know. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Okay.
Jack Dalby asked, what will alcohol-based finish melt the foam?
Well, these, I believe they are geared toward oil-based finishes. I would not necessarily trust alcohol with that until they tell me otherwise. Let me see.
It doesn't really. It just says oil-based.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. So I would not trust it with any kind of, lacquer thinner or alcohol. They really do seem to push these specifically for oil-based. I even used that with a little bit of water-based finish, and I didn't like what it did. And then I looked at the label, and it said oil-based. So I'm sticking. You might want to check with them, but at this point, I'm sticking with a recommendation of just oil-based materials.
David D said, speaking of so many videos to look through, does that spreadsheet with reference information links for TWW content exist? I remember seeing a few years back, but I can't find it. Spreadsheet?
Sounds like something you would have done.
I would have done. Spreadsheets are right up my alley.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure, David. I would have to look. But I can't believe we're getting ready to do 18 years. I'm actually prepping for our 20-year anniversary. And my ideal is to put all of the main site videos on a USB stick. Maybe in 2 years, maybe your computer won't accept that USB stick.
Yeah, I don't know. Can't we just make it a digital download?
Yeah,
call it done?
well, it's already there. I don't know.
We're going to send you guys a zip disk. And or it might be a few dozen, but it'll be zip disk format. Jeff Porter says, I saw a Lee Valley ad the other day for a flush plane. We're going to be able to go back to the other camera on this one. So I saw a Lee Valley ad for a flush plane, about $50. At first glance, it seemed like a good thing for cleaning up glue after joining, but maybe that's just my interest in woodworking widgets. What's your take on flush planes? Let's go over here. I actually have one, and it's not the Lee Valley version. It's the blue spruce version. And
ooh, that's cute.
Yeah, they're fun. I like it. It's a fun little tool. So if you're not familiar, basically you can see it's like a plain iron that's just nice and flat with a handle mounted onto this body, and it allows you to just kind of flush trim things. If you have a dowel sitting proud of the surface, you can kind of use it like a chisel and just slice along the grain. You could use it to remove glue. My fear with something like this, and I've seen it, is if, let's say you have a tabletop glue up, you got your glue line all the way across, depending on how long you wait to get that glue off of there, as you start to go like this and you're coming across that glue joint, you may actually pull up fibers. So it does get a little bit risky. Now, if the glue is still pliable, sure, you could very easily slide it across. But that's what you have to be careful about with these, is not to gouge and dig into the surface. So I like them. I think they are totally unnecessary, and I think they're very fun to have. Do I think you need one? Heck no. Do you want one?
No.
Yeah, heck no. Do you want one? Okay, we'll go ahead and get one. And honestly, what I've been using it for, I've been beating it up, but I'll take it to my workbench. If I see glue, that's...
Can I use that to scrape off a sticker from like glass?
You might scratch the glass, but I mean, it would be no different than a razor blade on glass.
Yeah.
But now in its current condition, I've kind of roughed up the edge, so it probably would scratch. But you can use it to kind of scrape a surface if you need to. And
Okay, don't do that.
It works great on the workbench.
Not on my ears.
But by no means do I think that is a necessary purchase. I think if you like the way it looks and you got an extra $50 in your pocket and you want a new little tool to enjoy, go ahead and get it.
Oh, I gotta switch it back.
We need a producer.
Yeah. Well, I'm answering questions in the chat, you know.
Oh, I know what your job is like.
Yeah.
I've done it before. I imagine doing it all yourself.
Oh, I know.
It's super fun. Jason Stromberg says, do you know of any tung oil soluble dyes or tints?
Oh, it's all about the finishes.
It is very finish focused. I'd like to add a bit of reddish brown to some tung oil for red oak. All right, so I put a link there. Fitties, the company, they make everything costs about $250.
$250.
They make an oil, and they make all kinds of products actually. But
I'll
watch your cord.
Oh, sorry.
So do you have the link?
Yeah, I got it.
So they seem to have a soluble-based, oil-soluble-based tints, and what they say this is for is to take their colored components that they sell, and then you could use those colors to modify their existing tinted materials. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to use them in a non-tinted oil-based thing to kind of bring a little bit of color to the party. So that's the first recommendation I'm going to give you. The second recommendation is so much more practical. What is the noise? Is that the cat eating? I hear snapping sounds.
It's probably the cat.
Here's a very sort of easier access kind of thing, oil-based stain. So if you're using tung oil, you could just go to Home Depot or Lowe's and find a stain that's pretty close to the color you want. That oil-based stain is generally going to be, thinner linseed oil base and coloring agents. So if you take a little bit of that stain and add that to your tung oil mixture, and just make sure you're keeping track of how much you add in case you want to change the recipe in the future, you could just put like a tablespoon of that stain into a quart of your oil or however much and put it on the surface, see what you come up with. That's a perfectly viable way to do it. And now you have a whole range of colors that might be able to get you where you want to be. And it's an oil-based stain, so it's completely compatible with a tung oil finish.
Oh, there you go.
A lot of people don't think about that. They think in terms of stains as like, what you would add to alcohol and water. So your dyes, your trans tints. And those are typically alcohol and water soluble, not oil soluble. So just grab some stain, mix them together, and you'll get a nice tinted color.
We have a question from David D. When spraying water-based paint or finish, do you sand the final coat? How do you avoid cloudiness when sanding? If not, how do you avoid the rough texture that can show up after spraying?
Well, roughness can come from a lot of different things. Straining and filtering your finish first gets all the little bits and crusty things that might be in there, gets all the contaminants out.
It looks like a coffee filter.
Yep, little coffee filter on a metal stand. So filter all your stuff first, make sure your gun is clean. If all that's done, you at least stack the cards to have a pretty good finish. But the other variable is one that's so much harder to control in our shops, and that is the shop air. Whether we like it or not, a lot of times there's just dust in the air, there's particles, you bump into something, things are gonna fall. If I bump into my dust collection pipe, it's gonna knock some dust into the air and fall on anything
You have a cat?
out. Yeah, even walking around in your shop. Yeah. One of the things that I've told people is, sure, absolutely vacuum before you finish. Give it some time for the dust to settle. And I've even gone to the extent, and I don't think you really need to do this, but if you're getting desperate and you want the best results, grab a spray bottle of water and put it on the misting setting and spray the area around where you're going to be walking while you apply this finish. You'll be surprised how much dust you can kick up just by the act of walking around your shop. Every time you have a footfall, you have a little microscopic sort of cloud of dust. So if you quickly spray the floor around the table that you're going to be, the area where you're finishing, you can knock some of that down and stop it from happening. Same concept of like construction sites where they spray water down as they're digging up earth and soil to kind of keep it down to a minimum. It doesn't hurt, right? So then you do that. Anything you have left over, I would be sanding between the coats until I don't need to anymore. A lot of times after maybe two or three coats, I've already sanded twice between those coats, and the finish is pretty darn close to perfect, right? And that's what you're shooting for, so that the final coat doesn't require anything. And if it does, okay, well then you're looking at maybe hitting it with 1,000 grit or something like that, and maybe wet sanding the surface, let it cure, and then you could wet sand it and then give it kind of a nice even sheen, knock down any little nubs or nibs that might be in the surface. There's a lot of different ways you could approach finalizing that finish, but ideally let's get there without much to do, right? If you could stop the dust from getting there in the first place, that's always the best way to go.
Very interesting. You got a question from
Yep,
Jason?
more finishing. No, we already did that.
You already did
Wayne
that one.
Miller. He said, "Sup, Mark.
Sup.
What finish would be good to use over cedar that's been dyed with food coloring? If the food color doesn't work, I'll probably use Kita dye instead."
Is that typical, using food coloring?
It's a coloring agent.
I guess.
I wouldn't use it, but it's fine. I mean, maybe if you're doing something that's like food safe, maybe.
Yeah.
Still, either way. I'll need something with a little UV protection for an outdoor project. Okay, so here's the thing. Dyed with food coloring. I don't know that food coloring is UV resistant. What you find with a lot of coloring agents is the more they get exposed to the sun, the more the color breaks down, and you don't have the same color in 3 months, in a month. Food color especially, I don't know that that's got the chutzpah that you want in a coloring agent that it's going to even work for an outdoor project. So let's take a step back. I would say don't use food coloring if you can avoid it. Find a good quality dye or stain, and preferably something that's got some UV resistance to it. Of course, you're going to put UV protection on top of it, and that's what you mentioned, but I don't know that that's necessarily going to be enough. You kind of do want something that, you know, the dye particles themselves maybe have a little bit more resistance, or what the carrier that it's in has a little bit more UV resistance. And once you do that, then you hit it with a UV protectant top coat that will hopefully allow the whole thing to just be a little bit more color fast. Here's the thing, it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be a bit of a challenge. UV and the sun is just brutal for finishes.
Total Boat Gleam.
So the finish I do recommend, if you're going to put the clear coat, regardless of what you decide to do with the stain, is Total Boat Gleam, and they have Gleam 2.0 as well. Look into those finishes. Nicole's got a link, an affiliate link for Amazon if you want to check them out. But Total
It's in
Boat,
our Amazon store too.
yeah, they make great products. Honestly, Epiphanes is another product that I've used in the past, and I think that works fantastic. If it works on a boat, it's probably going to be good on a piece of furniture in the backyard. But these finishes are not set it and forget it. A lot of times, especially if there is a lot of sun exposure, you do have to maintain that finish in order to stop it from flaking and causing major problems over the course of time. So keep an eye on it, but re-examine the dye that you're using, and then get a good quality top coat like Total Boat.
Nice. Apo Apina's in the chat. He's like, I'm a guild member, and I've been wondering, is there some way to get the unlisted guild meeting videos to show up in the normal subscription page on YouTube? Just prefer to watch on the big TV. Totally get that. I do too. What I can do, and there's a couple of ways. In fact, someone gave them the suggestion to watch it on your computer and save it to your watch later list, and then you could watch it on the TV. But I think what I'm going to do, it's an unlisted playlist. I'm just going to link the playlist on the guild meetings page in the guild.
Is that going to work?
It should.
Okay, so unlisted playlists.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, we'll have to look at that.
On it,
I'm not sure that that's going to work.
We'll figure it out. So
we'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Totally understand the frustration with that.
Yeah.
That's a real pain in the butt.
So you're the first person that said that, but you're not the only one probably thinking
Because
it.
he would have to go through, he's trying to go through the YouTube app to access this.
Right.
So it's only things that are accessible to people in that app. So
Right.
even if he had the link to an unlisted playlist, how is he accessing that
Maybe
directly through the app?
He can save the playlist to his...
Yeah, maybe there's a way to save the playlist.
Yeah, I'll play around with it.
And then it'll be in your
Yeah,
profile?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
yeah.
play around.
As you could see, we don't know. Okay, last one I have from
okay.
Willy.
Willy!
It's a two-parter. This should be quick. I have two questions. Sorry for double dipping. It's okay, Willy, just for you. The first is, what do you use as feet on your furniture? I've used both rubber and felt feet, but what do you recommend? Well, feet kind of depends on the surface that it's going on or what you want it to do. I like the sticky back stuff because if it comes off, I just go get more and I put another fresh one on there. I know a lot of people will use the ones that like have a little nail on it, but I don't like them as much. I don't want to put a nail hole in the bottom, and then I find that they're, over time, it's going into end grain, excuse me, so it's probably going to fall off. So I like the adhesive back little feet. Cut them into just, as close to the size of the foot as possible. Maybe keep it in 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch. This way you don't really see it. So the question though is, what do you want the thing to do? Do you want it to slide or do you want it to resist sliding? And that determines whether you go for something that's got the rubber texture or you have something that has, like felt on it. Typically I go with the felt. So on our new floor, the Osmo hard wax floor, you're going to see a video on Monday on that.
is it Monday coming out?
It is on Monday,
Nice.
yeah. So I wanted my, bar stools that we made, I wanted them to slide a little bit, right? Because you go up to the island and you want to kick the thing back. You don't want it to tip over because it's gripping the floor too much, but I don't necessarily want it to slide under people. My kids are using it and my daughter can't seem to keep her feet down. So she's on these little stools like this and I'm like, Ava, no. If that thing slid, we'd be in even more trouble. So I find that the felt pads actually provide a little bit of grip, but when you need to slide them, they don't scratch the floor. If I used a rubber pad, they wouldn't slide as easily. They'd have a lot of grip, but it would be like a non-slip sort of situation. So it also wouldn't scratch the floor, but it is not going to move, right? So that's how I make a decision. What am I doing with it? What do I want it to do? Most of the time, 99% of the time, I go with the felt. The only time I ever used one that has the rubber texture is under my couch, because I don't want it to move, right? So we put them under all the feet on the couch. Second part of his question, I need someone to make a template for me from an Adobe Illustrator drawing. Who can do this remotely and quickly? I don't know at all. But when you're saying you want the template, do you want the template file? Do you want a printable PDF? Or are you looking for a vector file so someone can actually cut your template on a CNC? I don't know exactly what you're looking for, but I'm pretty sure Illustrator allows you to export probably in various vector file formats.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing, the magic sauce here. If you have that, you should be able to go to any local CNC place and they'll be able to cut you your template. But I'm not sure if he means how to export into a PDF like we provide in the Guild, a PDF that's on multiple sheets of paper, or one you could have printed at a local print shop. I don't know for sure, but this feels like something like if you went into the Guild in one of our Guild groups, I don't know if you're a Guild member, Willy.
I think he is.
But if you went in there and said, hey, does anybody have an expertise in this that could do this for me? There's probably someone who would say, I can help you out.
Yeah.
But I don't know outside of that, a specific person. I know Brian could do it, but again, Brian's super busy, and I also don't know specifically what Willy is trying to do here. I'm out of questions.
I know. I have plenty. Actually, we missed Greg's, so you printed that out before I added. So Greg says, hey Mark, I've had a few panels develop small raised glue lines between the boards after being finished for years. The lines are very thin and barely visible, but can be felt. I'm unsure if this is normal wood movement that I should just accept, or a technical issue which can be repaired and avoided in the future. The wood was dry and well acclimated before use, and the finish was a hard wax oil.
So did you use Type-On 3? So some glues are a little bit more prone to having that, what we would call glue creep. A lot of times you just have that, between your boards where you glue them together, exactly what you're describing. Just you feel that little bit of a glue line. Type-On 3 tends to do it quite a bit. Some of the other PVA glues, Type-On 1 and 2, don't seem to do it as much. I'm sure you'll find some agreement in the chat room on this. So yeah, I've started to use Type-On 3 more strategically, and on a tabletop is probably a place that I would not use it for that very reason. And here's the thing, I know it bothers you. It maybe bothers someone else that knows a little bit about woodworking and you've alerted them to it, now it bothers them too. Stop talking about it, ignore it, it'll be fine. But that said, you do have a hard wax oil. If you really wanted to, you could hit the surface, maybe with a little 220, clean it up, knock those ridges down, apply another coat of finish, and it'll probably be good for a while. This is something that, as the wood expands and contracts, as the glue line itself has its own personality and it maybe pops up, it is something that could come back. But I do find that once you let time go by, this is like what I used to say for cutting boards. If you have the luxury of time, use the cutting board, let it get exposure to water over and over and over. As those glue joints, especially in an end grain cutting board, as they kind of expose themselves, eventually, say 6 months later, you knock the glue joints down and then refinish it. It tends to not get as bad. It tends to behave a lot more going forward from that point. So I find that applies to furniture as well. It only really works if it's your furniture, right? So I would say go ahead, give it a little sanding, knock them down, apply a new coat of finish, and hope for the best. But if they come back, that's just kind of the way it is. If you came to my house and you went to my dining table, which was made, I believe I used Type-On 3, if you put your finger over that joint, you're gonna feel something. And I'll tell you what, this was a reality check for me when I went to visit David Marks and started to work with him. I went into his house and I saw a whole bunch of things he made on Woodworks. And I remember those things looked perfect. They just looked perfect on Woodworks. And then I ran my finger over it and I felt all of his glue joints where there were flush things glued together. It was a real reality check. And I was like, oh, so if this happens to David's furniture, this is just something that happens, right? And it made me feel so much better about my stuff because at the time I would have gotten really uptight about the fact that, man, this thing was perfect. And now a few months later, I could feel the glue joint. That's wood, that's woodworking. I wouldn't stress about it too much.
Good advice. Jesse in the chat says, in your last Friday show on the topic of CNC, you had mentioned having CNC files. As someone who just bought a CNC, I would love CNC files for the guild courses.
No.
Similar to Daryl's bed course.
You stop it right now, Jesse. You bite your tongue.
We need a CNC.
I do provide CNC files by request. So some of our projects, especially if they're template-driven projects, we do sell hard templates. We used to also either give or sell the CNC files. But here's the problem. So many people, and this is not a shot at you, Jesse, but so many people are like you. CNC has become so inexpensive that a lot of people now can get in the game. That's fantastic. The problem is a lot of people don't know how to use the software. And what we provide is a vector file. Sometimes it's not as plug and play as we would like it to be. So when I give you a file, you may have questions. And the problem is, I'm not that well versed in CNC. I can't provide.
Well, you don't even have a CNC.
I don't have one anymore.
You can't even test it.
I have a Shaper Origin. That's what I've got. And they only take a certain file type. So that's the problem is it's very hard for me to verify, test, and then troubleshoot on your behalf if you have problems. Because that's what we would do. We would give people the file and they go, oh, that's not the format that my CNC takes. And I'm like, okay, figure it out.
Google.
I don't know what to tell you. Like,
what file type are you trying to get to?
So
I'm sure there's a video.
Yeah, so this is why we no longer provide the CNC files as part of our service, because as soon as we do, whether it's free or paid, if we say, oh, we'll give you the CNC files, you would naturally expect us to kind of warranty those files to make sure they work for your purposes. We can't do that. That said, if it's a template-driven project and it's one that I have access to the files, I'm more than happy if you email me to send you the CNC file.
Go through the guild support.
Yeah, go
page.
through the guild support, see if there are CNC files available, and I will send them to you for free at no cost as long as you have the course. Do not ask me for help with the file, because I'm going to tell you, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
David K's in the chat, and he says, do you ever use craft paper over your final finish coat?
It's an old trick, and it's a pretty good one. So this relates back to one of the previous questions about that final layer of water-based finish, if it has stuff on it. A great little trick is to use craft paper. Back in the day, us old people would say things like brown paper bags, because we used to get those at the grocery store. Everybody had it.
You still do.
That's right, they've gone back to paper.
Yeah.
But not many.
A lot.
Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't they have paper?
Yes.
Not Walmart.
No, not Walmart.
Okay. They just charge you for that plastic.
In Colorado.
Oh, in Colorado, not here.
Not here.
They'd be like, huh? Here? No one would understand.
You're gonna charge me 10 cents for a bag. What are you talking about?
So, what am I talking about? Craft paper. So the idea is brown paper bags, craft paper, it actually has, I don't know what the grit equivalent is, but it does have a little bit of sort of a grit capacity to it. So what he's talking about is you kind of hit that last coat with a little bit of this craft paper and it will knock down some of those little dust nibs in the surface without actually changing the sheen. Now if you rub too hard, you might change the sheen. So that actually is a great trick. I wish I would have remembered to mention it. It's inexpensive. It's a good way to hit that final surface. And it kind of replaces that process I talked about with the wet sanding and final buffing that you would do. It's a good old trick.
What time is it? Oh, it's after 11. Look at that. Well, we started a little late too.
Okay.
So,
Mark, what's he asking about new toys? I just saw the word toys.
What?
Apple Apina.
Mark's oh, yeah.
What is this?
Mark likes to play with new toys. Any plans to test the new Festool systainersaw? Seems pretty great with automatic blade tilt and height.
I've seen it. I don't have any plans to test it because I don't have a whole lot of use for it. And unlike a lot of people on Instagram, I didn't get one for free, unfortunately. They don't like me anymore. Want, want. You know, you speak the truth too many times and it can bite you in the ass. It's a great saw. It looks good. I don't think I have a need for it. So here's the thing. We're trying to figure out moving forward how best to handle things like this. Where I would love to be able to test something like that, but I don't have the budget to just go and buy a saw just to test it and see what happens. So we're trying, you know, things like the deal with Beaver Industrial, with a company that we could work with, a vendor, where they don't have necessarily that kind of vested interest in that brand. They're just looking to get awareness for their company as a tool vendor, which makes it a little bit more possible for us to get tools in that we might not have been able to afford to get in, and then still be able to fairly review them in a way that could be positive or negative. But it doesn't necessarily say anything bad about Beaver Industrial, right? It just says, this is my opinion of this particular tool. If you want it, go buy it from these guys because they paid for this opportunity to become the vendor we tell you about. So something like that. I've got finishes I want to buy. I got all kinds of stuff, but we got to kind of, life happens sometimes. So we got to make sure we get a little bit more
Ava's
cash flow.
birthday is tomorrow. Mateo's birthday is next month.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
So Ant1 in the chat says is it kiting? Kiting? Kidding. Delta 14-inch bandsaw, and I'm considering some Carter products, specifically the ratchet rod tension adjuster. I can't find where they're manufactured. Does anyone know? Did you contact Carter?
All right. Well, here's the thing. Here's a little secret for you. If it's not obvious and loud where it's manufactured, it's
here.
Probably going to be China, Taiwan.
Yeah, definitely not here.
Yeah, if it was made in the USA, typically the companies that do that, and then they go through the extra trouble and expense to actually have it manufactured in the US, they're proud of that, and they're going to say it. So it's one of those things. If you have to ask, the answer is the answer you don't want.
Yeah. You got a question
It's
here.
getting a whole lot harder to find products.
Build and fix with Mooney. Mark, what is a good all-around hand plane to have in my shop? There are plenty of time, plenty of time that I need a good plane. Thanks. Jack plane. Oh, you don't like them? Well, sorry.
It's like someone just did an oil change in my mouth. Oh God.
I got backup.
Oh, good lordy.
You want honey or honey lemon?
Nothing right now.
Okay.
I got to get that out of my mouth. Jack plane. A jack plane has its name in, traditionally jack of all trades, right? It does a lot of things. You could smooth with it. You could edge joint. You can, tune it for a little bit of a rougher cut. I'm a big fan of the low angle. Some people aren't. They like the heft of a traditional plane, but a low angle plane means I could use different irons in here, and the angle of attack can affect how the plane behaves, right? So if you have multiple blades, you could have one sharpened for 50 degrees, one sharpened at 25 degrees. You could put a scraper iron in there. You could do a lot of different things. I find it to be extremely versatile. So in my book, Hybrid Woodworking, this is one of the planes you're going to see me talk about a lot, as the jack plane. And to this day, still one of my favorite planes. This is the Melbourne Tools plane. If you guys want to check those folks out, they make some great stuff. Really good way of getting a more cost-effective way of getting into more of the premium line of hand planes is Melbourne Tools. So the jack plane, always a favorite, one of my favorite planes to use, and that's what I recommend.
I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, we're going long, so let's
we're not
let's
that
wrap
long
it up.
because we were a little late.
Oh, we were late. Okay.
Yeah, we were late. Oh,
We'll go
hybrid
long.
woodworking. If you don't have the hybrid woodworking book, books still exist. You can get a signed copy from him in TWW store.
All the ones we sell in our store are signed. Obviously, Amazon, you find it in a bookstore. It's not going to be signed unless I was there, because I will stealth sign if like a Barnes and Noble. If I find them in a bookstore, I will stealth sign.
Yeah. We have CMC. Hey.
Hey.
So I'm looking at getting my first hand drill brace. Tons of videos on it, but curious if you could give me some direction on buying my first one or three. What's a
It's a like old school drill.
Like one of those things.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Shannon, talk to Shannon.
I don't even own one, but the place I would go to look for one is probably a flea market.
Yeah.
Find one at a flea market. It's old and beat up. It might just be a fun little project to, get the rust off, make it functional again. I wouldn't buy, I don't even know. Can you get them new? I'm sure every tool these days seems to have a new analog that some company came along and made. It probably costs a whole lot of money. But this totally seems like something that if we went to like a flea market in Montgomery, there would be a tool vendor with like 50 of these sitting in a box somewhere and nobody wants them, right? So if that's your jam and you like tools like that, go to a flea market, see if you could find one there.
Wentzville has a flea market every Saturday morning, and I went through and saw some old stuff.
Yeah. Those are fun. I mean,
like 'em.
and actually it's not, like I make jokes about it. I have no need for one because I have drills. But there are times where those are actually really effective at drilling in certain situations. And especially if you're doing something where you need a light touch, you know, going by hand is a good way to do that.
Interesting. Elijah says, speaking of wood movement, what's a good resource that breaks down how much movement should be expected by species or dimensions? I tend to way overthink wood movement.
Yeah, what's it called? Not the sagulator. There's a wood bin.
Wood bin.
Wood bin has a calculator, a wood movement calculator.
Is it an
that you
app?
could look at. It's just a web app.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
It's a page with an embedded form that you could fill
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So look it up. Wood
Wood
bin
bin.
is usually the website name, and then they have a wood expansion calculator. Find the species. You talk about, you know, you could do a bunch of different things, but what I usually do is like the size of the board and a relative humidity change. So we're going to go from 20% humidity to 80% humidity. What kind of expansion can we see over that? It'll give you that information. And it's often less than you think.
Right.
Well, it depends on your perspective. If you're new to woodworking, it's way more than you think. If you've been doing woodworking long enough to be commenting on YouTube videos, it's less than you think. No, more than you think. No, less than you think.
More than you know.
I was making a joke. It just didn't come together. It happens. I don't feel
Brian
well.
wants to know, he's in Denver, what was one of your favorite hardwood lumber sources in the area?
Austin Hardwoods
Yep.
was the one I always went to.
Yep. Let's see. What are your thoughts? So Homer Simpson, what are your thoughts on the newer UV cured finishes like clean armor that I see some other YouTubers promoting?
Yeah.
I can see some advantages, but it seems like they might be more trendy than revolutionary.
Well, UV cured finishes are nothing new.
I
They've
was
been
gonna say,
around
they
for a
have
long
been.
time.
Yeah, they've been around for a while.
It's just they're trickling down to a category that you and I can access, and that's why people are talking about them. There was a company 2 years ago that, I don't know, was it vesting, something, but they got bought out, or when I don't know. I don't know the whole thing. It's all kinds of drama. But they had a UV cured hard wax oil as well. So yeah, this is really nothing new. It's just kind of a new category for us to consider. It's catching on because influencers are called that for a reason. You know, they talk about something and they influence people to be interested in that.
Well, to know
This
about it.
this in particular, this clean armor one, I think this has been the most requested.
Did somebody, is that what you were talking about last night?
Well, yeah, I didn't include the question because I don't have a great answer. But they watch someone else and then they would come to us and ask what we think about it. I don't know. I haven't used it.
Yeah.
So if you guys have some left over and you want me to try it out.
Ask the person that told you about it.
That's what I'm wondering. I feel like I'm picking up their slack. Like, why didn't they tell you what it does and whether it works? No, but seriously, that is when I said before, there are things I want to get that I could just like do tests on, tools and finishes. That's one of the finishes I want to get is whatever this clean armor business is, so I could try it out for you guys. Here's the thing, the attraction here is the quickness, the simplicity of applying it. You run a UV light over it and it's cured.
You know,
it's ready to go.
That's how it works with gel nails when you go to the salon.
Yeah.
You sure you don't want, they're constantly, you sure you don't want gel? No, I don't want gel. But it's like, you put it on, UV, done.
So you need the UV light to be able to do this. It's like a whole different thing. I don't know that it's really going to catch on in that way because there is just something about, you know, operating a giant UV light. I know, you know, sunlight, I believe, can kick it off as well. Now, the one I used in the past, it worked. It definitely worked. What I found, though, was I had a hard time getting a perfect surface. What I would get is a lot of, just like we talked about before, dust nibs. They weren't there when I applied the finish. I couldn't see it. But as the UV cured the finish, I don't know whether it was like maybe a microscopic air bubble or something, the surface was not absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
The people who've emailed me about this have tried the finish, and what they're having trouble with is getting the application to be nice and smooth so that once they apply the UV, the finish, the resulting finish is smooth.
Do it on a small thing, easy. Do it on a large.
Do it on a large tabletop,
harder.
and maybe it doesn't work as well. So there's nuance to applying this thing. So I will do my best to see if I can get some of this finish in. But I didn't receive any for free, so I'm not promoting it because I'm just now hearing about it.
Yeah. Philip said Katzmoses has an online wood movement calculator too. So there you go. Ant says, Marc, I wish I could go to Woodworking America in person. Newborn. Congrats.
Congratulations.
I've been pestering everyone I can involved with the show to get a live stream recording paid ticket option. Help.
Here's the thing. They came up with this very last minute.
Yeah.
The chances of them doing something in a formal sense that they could like charge money for and feel good about it, I don't think it's going to happen.
Probably not going to happen.
If that
There's
was
too many moving parts.
And with everybody in different places, they'd have to be able to, the thing is, it actually wouldn't be that hard if all they did was record it and then offered it afterwards.
Yeah.
But for some reason, no one's really done that with the woodworking stuff. I think maybe some of the presenters might be
kind of neat.
Maybe protective over their IP.
I don't know about that.
I don't care. Record me all you want. Go for it.
And another question, if I may, SketchUp or Fusion 360 for woodworking?
Both, either. It just depends on what you're into. If you're looking for path of least resistance and you have zero CAD experience, you're probably going to have an easier time with SketchUp. If you have some CAD experience, and that's, maybe you went to a course in high school or something like that, I think Fusion 360 is going to be a little bit easier for you to understand. In the end, I think Fusion 360 is going to be more capable. And especially if you want to get into things like laser cutting, CNC, 3D printing, having the skill set to use Fusion 360 is going to benefit you more there. But if all you're doing is designing woodworking projects and you want something that's a little bit more point and click friendly, I think SketchUp's going to be your better option.
Eric in the chat says, I volunteer at the Tool Thrift Shop in Fairport, New York. We are a charity and take tool hardware donations from the community. Hand braces don't sell, and we end up scrapping them for metal.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh.
It's interesting because a lot of times, good quality vintage tools, they're hard to come by.
Yeah.
And if you do find a used market, those people know what it's worth, right? It's interesting to hear that because that's kind of what I've seen. I always see braces, and I don't know what it is about them. People don't care.
I would also encourage you to check out ShopGoodwill.com. They get a lot of donations of tools, hand tools, and I think a lot of eBayers go to Shop Goodwill, get the auction at really cheap, and then they put it on eBay. So
Aaron,
check out Shop Goodwill.
Aaron clarified his name is actually not Homer Simpson. You might be surprised. He has trust issues with the source that's promoting it. I get that. And more than anything, can I tell you how much I appreciate that you trust me?
Yeah.
We do try very hard because we have to dip our toes into promotions. We have to get involved in advertising. It's how our business runs. But there are ways that you can do that are a little more honest than others. And we try to be as honest as possible. And the last thing I want anybody to do is buy a thing I told you to buy, and then you find out it doesn't work the way I said it works. And that really, really would bother me if that were to ever happen. Yeah. We talked about those Makr pads. I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. If you've tried other things, when you try this, you're gonna agree with me. Now, whether you think it's worth it and you buy more, that's between you and your wallet. But you will find what I said to be 100% true. So I get it. When it comes to this finish, especially the channels that tend to be more of, hey, this company gave me a thing, they gave me a few bucks, and I'm going to tell you about it, or it's an affiliate thing.
Right.
I would have trust issues too. I don't blame you.
So we're going to wind down the show.
Oh, Matt's here. We can start.
We can start.
Matt, you are disqualified. You could just come here and peek in the door
Be
if
like,
you
hey,
want to
what's
watch.
up? Matt, are you still doing the craft fair circuit over at the Meadows? I'm curious. So that's where I actually first kind of met him. And I bought one of his cutting boards, even though you can make them. So I'm going to give away one of these hats. I got a black one and a gray one with the Wood Whisperer, and it'll come with a sticker pack.
Nice.
So if you would like one of these hats, just say hat, and we'll answer some more questions as people that actually want one of these hats. And it'll come with a guild project too. So even if you don't want the hat, you're going to get it.
There you go. So Just Plain Bob just mentions that in fly tying, 7 or 8 years now, they've had a UV cured cement that they use. So that's what I'm saying. It's been around for a while. I'm going to tell you my honest problem with the UV cured finishes.
What is it?
I'm scared of UV.
Oh, well, I didn't want to bring it up, but the reason why I don't do gels is because of the research that has been coming out that
about
the
UV
women
exposure with their fingers.
and they're getting
Oh no. See?
issues.
That's what I'm talking about. And the thing is, I know the companies will tell you there's a certain safety factor. Distance means a lot. You might wear like protective goggles. But remember that other company I mentioned, the vesting or whatever? At one of the last, I think it might have been Vegas, there was another show. After that show, everybody's talking about this finish. And I saw people just running it with no protection at all. They're running the UV light. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right.
That doesn't seem good.
Yeah. So if I'm going to be doing this routinely, look, and this, as a person who has a background in science, I know there's a big difference between speculating, and I don't mean to do that. I apologize because I'm uninformed. But when I hear UV light, my reaction is to go,
sunscreen.
not for me.
Sunscreen.
Yeah, could you imagine? All right, hold on. I got to finish my project. Nicole, can you get my back? Like, that's where my brain goes. And if I have other finishes that I like just as well that don't require UV rays, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's probably perfectly safe. Just don't look directly into it, right? It's probably, you probably get more UV just going from the shop to your car. I get all that. I'm just saying, it's another thing that I don't want to be exposed to.
Another layer. You know, and you control it.
Adding to my paranoia. It's something that I didn't have to do, but I put it in my life anyway. This is just a me thing, is what this comes down to.
So as people are saying hat, Dan said, hey, could you make a video on how to cut a dovetail with power tools? Bandsaw table, sled, 10-degree, ground blade, router, etc. Isn't that
I'm going to tell you something.
Jig? One of the dovetailing jigs?
Yeah, there's a dovetail jig with a router.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's what he's talking about.
No.
He wants more, probably going for more of a hand-cut look, but using power tools. So 2 things. One is in my hybrid woodworking book, I will show you how to make hybrid dovetails. That's using the bandsaw in conjunction with hand tools to get dovetails that look like they were hand sawn, but you use the bandsaw. We also, at the Wood Whisperer Guild right now, you can go over there. There is a Dovetail Stepstool course.
That's free.
It is free, right? So you do have to sign up and get a username and password and all that jazz. But you don't have to pay anything. It's there right now. And Matt and I show you 2 different approaches. One of them is a bandsawn dovetail method, and it's in video format. So go there right now, sign up, get that free course. Get the Vanity while you're there. It's pretty good.
$29.
Because we also cover full hand-cut dovetails in the Vanity course.
Yes.
But that will show you the bandsaw method. It'd be hard for me to show you the table saw method because unless we're doing like a larger scale tenon, not tenon, dovetail, thank you, I probably wouldn't use the table saw for that, but I know you can. I did it once when I took a course at the William Ing School, and I was like, it's okay. It's not my favorite way. It's not my favorite.
Not my favorite. All right, I'm at the top.
Okay.
We got a lot of people are asking for signed hats.
I can sign it if you want me to deface it, but let me know, you want it under or on top? You want it visible?
Yeah. If you win and you want to sign, just let me know. Because you're going to email me. All right, you want to say...
Stop.
Oh. We got someone I've never seen before. W5PK Kevin. Well, I have 2 hats. I'm going to give 2 away.
Okay.
All right.
Stop.
Joshua
Luther.
Joshua Luther.
There you go.
Hat. All right.
What's up, dude?
So email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com. Give me your address so I know where to send this. And if you do want it signed, let me know. If you don't want it signed, you don't have to have it signed.
What about the guild course?
And you'll both of you get guild courses. So tell me which guild courses.
You're combining them.
I'm just going to combine them.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So we're done?
I think we are done. Wow, there are a lot of people wanting hats.
All right.
Maybe I'll put a pre-order up for some hats.
You guys want to buy some hats?
Want some hats?
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for enduring my not feeling great. Hopefully it wasn't too bad.
I hope I don't get sick.
Again.
I got sick last week.
I'm handing it back to you.
Yeah.
And thank you. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for hanging out with us. Go pick up some Maker's sponges and do whatever you want with them.
Use that TWW code at checkout. You gotta type it in. You gotta go to the little thing and type in TWW to get the 15% off.
Right. Okay. And also, thewoodwhispererguild.com.
Yeah.
Ava's Vanity course, $29 right now, $79 tonight. So jump on it. I appreciate your support. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great Friday the 13th.